We'll continue with Peter Schweitzer and Seamus Bruner in just a second. But first, how many times has Joe said no knowledge of any business dealings with zero experience, Hunter?
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. And everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right questions. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
Why was it appropriate when you were the vice president for him to have foreign investments?
Well, the fact is I was unaware of his investments until it occurred, and I've never discussed what my son's business with him because I didn't want any conflict. No one has suggested that my son did anything wrong. Nobody has indicated there's a single solitary thing that he did that was inappropriate, wrong, or any relationship to other than the appearance. It looked bad because he was there.
There is a photo of you golfing with your son Hunter and his business partner Devin Archer. Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business?
Yes, I stand by that statement. It's not a conflict of interest. There's been no indication of any conflict of interest from Ukraine or anywhere else, period. And what I'm not going to let you all do is take the focus off the problem. No one has asserted my son did a single thing wrong. No one has asserted that I have done anything wrong except a lying president.
And are you vulnerable on this issue at all because of your son's business dealings in China?
No, I don't believe so at all. My son's business dealings were not anything with everybody that he's talking about, not even remotely, number one.
All right, we continue. Peter Schweitzer, author, Secret Empires. Seamus Bruner with us. Compromised, how money and politics drive FBI corruption. Two topics that we have followed in depth here on this program. We're going with their breaking news stories. Again, one of the partners of Hunter Biden, along with Devin Archer, is a guy by the name of Bevan Cooney, who is now serving time in jail. Devin Archer waiting to be sentenced to go to jail. I don't know how Hunter himself avoided all of this. When we left off, Peter, and then I'll let you finish, and then we'll get Seamus's take on this. You talked about 30 people from China, Chinese nationals, doing business deals that were about to meet with the vice president, even though it wasn't recorded in the White House. Who was there and who are these people?
Yeah, great question, Sean. Well, this is a group of Chinese that got the VIP treatment at the White House. The emails reveal that before Hunter got involved, they were having a hard time getting a White House meeting. So clearly the access was demonstrated there by Hunter Biden. But they had visits with Jeff Zients, who is the deputy director of the Office of Management and Budget. He was in charge of restructuring and consolidating our export-import agencies, which would have been an interest to the Chinese. They had a meeting with the newly installed Commerce Secretary. That's interesting because he was actually being sworn in by Joe Biden that same day. So this was very high-level access. And then, of course, you had the meeting with Joe Biden himself, according to members of the delegation, even though that did not show up on the official itinerary. The people that we're talking about with the China Entrepreneurs Club is a group of very wealthy, connected political figures in China. They control some 4% of the entire gross national product of the country of China. And what's interesting, Sean, is that some of the people on that delegation, their family members end up doing deals with BHR. Remember, BHR is the private equity firm that the Chinese government fund and that Hunter Biden and Devin Archer get put on the board of directors on in 2013. So within about 2 years of this White House delegation of all these Chinese officials going in there, Hunter Biden is involved with this new private equity firm that the Chinese government has set up. They start doing deals with family members of individuals that were part of this delegation back in 2011. And it shows how this loop exists, this elite group exists, and how these deals are done on the inside, and how the political axis of Hunter Biden, using his dad to meet with foreign business leaders, it effectively enhanced his business opportunities in China.
And Seamus, remember in the GMA interview, I never got a penny out of China, but he does have equity, doesn't he?
Right. So I just wanted to
and by the way, did he forget about the shopping spree?
Right. I mean, the emails that have come out, both from the New York Post and especially these ones, which we know are 100% authentic, completely separate from the Post, from a friend, they reveal that Joe Biden has lied all along about these relationships that his son Hunter had. He absolutely knew about them. As Peter mentioned, the direct pipeline to the administration. It's even worse than that. The business partners of Hunter Biden refer to that as their other currency. So they're talking about, we're going to pitch this to investors. Should we mention our, quote, other currency, which is the direct pipeline to the administration? So they viewed Hunter Biden's relationship as currency. They pitched it to investors. They brought in billions, as Peter mentioned about this delegation. 4% of China's GDP is a massive, massive number. These are not just billionaires. They're tens and tens of billionaires. And it's kind of alarming how there was no vetting on the Devon Archer, Hunter Biden end of who these Chinese visitors were. And they arranged the meeting within a matter of days. So, I mean, you and I couldn't get I couldn't get a White House meeting in a matter of days, but Hunter Biden and Devon Archer's partners.
In spite of published reports, neither could I, but go ahead. Good grief. Let me ask you this last question. We're going to break this down in more detail on Hannity tonight. If Bevan Cooney goes to jail, Devon Archer's waiting to be sentenced to go to jail, and Hunter Biden, he's the partner with both of them, correct, Peter?
Yes, that's correct.
How did he avoid jail when they both got convictions?
Well, I think that's one of the points that Bevan Cooney would make. And having looked through the transcripts of that trial that took place in 2016, Hunter Biden's name, is populated throughout the trial transcripts. I mean, obviously, I'm not a lawyer per se, but the notion that Hunter Biden had no involvement or no knowledge of this bond scheme flies in the face of what the record was, and the fact that Hunter Biden, when some of the people that invested in this scheme actually met with Hunter Biden, the fact that Hunter Biden's name was attached to it, they testified that that was one of the reasons they thought this was going to be a legitimate thing to get involved with. That's really the question, and it goes to the heart of what we've talked about before, Sean, which is the selective nature of criminal justice in America today. If you're politically connected and you're powerful enough, you get away with certain things that other people aren't allowed to get away with.
We'll have a lot more on all of this tonight. Blockbuster story. Eventually, the media, I guess, is going to try and ignore it. Good luck. Peter Schweitzer, Seamus Bruner, thank you both. We'll deal with more of this, more of the details, coming up at 9 Eastern, but it appears 26,000 emails separate and apart from the New York Post story is pretty devastating. Thank you both for being with us and sharing the information. I hope voters are paying attention. 800-941-SEAN is our